In a vibrant village in southeastern Africa, where the air hummed with the sounds of life, Theodore and Evelyn's home stood as a testament to love and longing. Their story began with joy and promise, but over the years, a heavy silence settled in. After their traditional marriage, they dreamed of children to fill their lives with laughter, yet the years passed with no baby in sight. Evelyn, known for her generous figure, often felt the whispers of the village women as they gathered in the marketplace. "Look at her," they would say. "Why hasn't she given her husband a child?" Each glance felt like a dagger to her heart. She had always wanted to be a mother, to nurture and love a little one. Yet it seemed fate had other plans. As time went by, the couple faced the harsh reality of their situation. They tried everything, seeking advice from elders and visiting herbalists, but still no child came. Each month was a new hope, quickly dashed as Evelyn would find herself disappointed again. With every failed attempt, the joy in their home diminished, leaving behind a residue of frustration and unspoken grief. Despite the sadness, Theodore remained steadfast, but he was not without his own flaws. He was a man who had grown accustomed to getting what he wanted. Instead of supporting Evelyn, he often turned inward, expecting her to handle the emotional burden alone. This selfishness created a gap between them, one that seemed to widen as the years passed. On quiet evenings, when the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, the couple would sit together on their porch. They would share their hopes and dreams, but the conversation always circled back to their longing for a child. "Maybe next year," Evelyn would say, forcing a smile. But deep down, both knew the pain of unfulfilled dreams lingered like a shadow. One fateful night, under a blanket of stars, their lives took a turn. Evelyn felt a fluttering in her belly, a sign she dared not hope for too much. But as the days turned into weeks, that fluttering grew stronger, and a visit to the local healer confirmed what they had longed for. Evelyn was pregnant. The news spread like wildfire through the village, bringing with it a wave of joy and celebration. Friends and family showered them with gifts, colorful wrappers for the baby, bags of rice, and yams for feasting. The village women, once whispering doubts, now celebrated Evelyn, their laughter ringing through the air. It felt as though the sun had finally broken through the clouds that had loomed over their lives for so long. Yet, amid the joy, the couple's true selves began to surface. Evelyn, still struggling with her self-image, found solace in food, often indulging in sweets and fried treats. Theodore, on the other hand, felt a shift in his role as a husband. Instead of stepping up to support Evelyn, he expected her to cater to his needs, further isolating her. As Evelyn's belly grew round with life, the village rejoiced, but whispers began to follow her again. "Look at her. She'll be a good mother," some would say, while others would murmur about her laziness. Evelyn felt the weight of these words pressing down on her, but she pushed through, focusing on the life she carried within. In her heart, Evelyn dreamed of a child who would fill their home with laughter, a little one who would chase away the shadows of doubt and disappointment. But as she stood in front of the mirror, she often questioned if she was worthy of this blessing. The inner battle waged on, reflecting her deepest insecurities. As the due date approached, the excitement in their home was palpable. Yet, instead of preparing for the arrival of their son with unity and joy, tension simmered beneath the surface. Evelyn's feelings of inadequacy were overshadowed by Theodore's expectations, and soon they found themselves navigating a path fraught with emotional landmines. This chapter of their lives was a delicate balance of hope and despair, joy and fear. Little did they know, the arrival of their son would not only change their lives, but also reveal the cracks in their relationship. As the sun set over their village, they were blissfully unaware of the trials that lay ahead, ready to embrace the joy of parenthood while still wrestling with their own demons. The day finally arrived. Evelyn felt a wave of excitement and anxiety as labor pains gripped her body. With Theodore by her side, she was whisked away to the village healer, a wise woman known for bringing new life into the world. The air was thick with anticipation as friends and family gathered, ready to welcome the long-awaited child. Hours passed, filled with cries of pain and encouragement. Evelyn's resolve was tested, but she held on to the thought of her child. Theodore, who had spent the day bustling around, finally settled beside her, holding her hand. "You're strong, my love. We're almost there," he whispered, a rare moment of tenderness breaking through his usual selfish demeanor. When Chitty finally arrived, the world outside fell silent. Evelyn, exhausted yet elated, held her son for the first time. The tiny bundle wrapped in colorful cloth seemed to glow in her arms, a miracle they had longed for. Tears of joy streamed down her face, washing away years of disappointment. Theodore's heart swelled with pride as he gazed at his wife and their newborn, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced before. The village erupted in celebration, filling the air with songs and laughter. Evelyn became the center of attention, her once-judged figure now celebrated as a symbol of motherhood. Friends and family took turns holding Chitty, marveling at his tiny fingers and peaceful demeanor. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt accepted, embraced by the love of her community. However, as the initial joy faded, reality began to set in. The demands of parenthood weighed heavily on Evelyn. The sleepless nights and endless responsibilities soon overwhelmed her. Theodore, still caught in his self-centered ways, often retreated into his own world, expecting Evelyn to handle everything. She found herself alone in her struggles, battling feelings of inadequacy once more. Cootie, the nanny they hired to help, came into their lives during this challenging time. Cootie was practical and no-nonsense, focused primarily on her paycheck rather than the emotional connections that should have come with caring for a child. Evelyn, desperate for assistance, welcomed her into their home, hoping she would lighten the load. At first, Cootie seemed to fit in well. She was efficient, quickly adapting to the needs of the household. But as time passed, Evelyn began to feel a growing frustration. Whenever Chitty cried or got into mischief, Evelyn would find herself snapping at Cootie. "Can't you watch him properly? What are you even here for?" The words spilled out before she could think, fueled by her own exhaustion and fears. Cootie, in turn, felt the strain of the blame. She had taken the job to earn a living, but now she was caught in a web of Evelyn's expectations. Instead of focusing on the joy of caring for Chitty, she became more concerned about keeping her job, often going through the motions without emotional investment. In their home, the once sweet laughter of a newborn slowly turned into an echo of tension. Evelyn's frustrations boiled over, and Theodore, too wrapped up in his own world, failed to notice the growing rift between his wife and the nanny. The love that had blossomed so beautifully was now overshadowed by a cycle of blame and resentment. As days turned into weeks, Evelyn's initial joy began to fade. The very thing she had longed for, being a mother, became a source of conflict and pain. She struggled to balance her dreams with the harsh realities of parenting, and the presence of Cootie only added to her stress. Evelyn often found herself wondering if she was cut out for this role, feeling like a prisoner in her own home. And yet, in those moments of darkness, glimpses of hope still shone through. Chitty's laughter, innocent and pure, would pierce the veil of sadness that loomed over them. His bright eyes sparkled with curiosity, and when he smiled, the weight of the world seemed to lift for just a moment. Evelyn would hold him close, whispering promises of love and protection, desperate to nurture him in the way she had always imagined. But as the days passed, it became increasingly clear that the shadows lurking in their home were far from gone. With each passing moment, the relationship between Theodore, Evelyn, and Cootie was set to face tests that would challenge the very foundation of their lives. As the days turned into months, the atmosphere in Theodore and Evelyn's home grew tense. The joyful anticipation surrounding Chitty's arrival had begun to wither, replaced by the demands of daily life. Evelyn found herself juggling the responsibilities of motherhood, household chores, and the growing frustrations that came with them. The joyful laughter of their son often echoed in the background, but it was increasingly overshadowed by a sense of unease. Evelyn's figure, once celebrated for its beauty, became a point of contention. In her mind, she looked in the mirror and felt a mix of emotions: pride for bringing Chitty into the world and shame for her inability to manage her weight. The village women, once filled with admiration, now cast judgmental glances her way, whispering about how she should be caring for herself as much as she cared for her child. Theodore, too, was caught in a web of expectations. Instead of stepping up as a partner, he found comfort in his routine, often retreating to the company of friends or his work. He enjoyed the prestige of being a father, but the responsibilities that came with it were burdens he seemed unwilling to bear. While Evelyn struggled through sleepless nights and relentless demands, Theodore remained passive, often leaving her to manage everything alone. Cootie, their nanny, became a focal point of tension in their household. Initially hired to provide assistance, her presence had transformed into a source of blame. Evelyn frequently found herself snapping at Cootie when things didn't go as planned. "Why can't you keep him entertained?" she would scold, her voice sharp with frustration. Cootie, for her part, would nod in silence, feeling the sting of Evelyn's words, but also recognizing that she was merely there to fulfill her duties. As the days turned into a blur of diaper changes, late-night feedings, and the demands of running a household, Evelyn felt the weight of expectations crushing her spirit. She was tired and overwhelmed, longing for Theodore to step in and share the load. Instead, she often felt like a single parent, bearing the brunt of every responsibility, while Theodore continued with his life as if nothing had changed. "Why can't you see how hard this is for me?" Evelyn finally confronted Theodore one evening as they sat on their porch. The stars twinkled above, but the tension between them was palpable. "I'm struggling, and I need your support." Theodore looked at her, his expression a mix of confusion and annoyance. "I work hard for this family," he replied defensively. "You knew what you were signing up for when you decided to have a child." Those words struck Evelyn like a thunderclap. She felt anger boil within her, but deep down, she also recognized the truth in his statement. They had both wanted this child, but the reality of parenthood was proving more challenging than they had imagined. The weight of unspoken expectations hung heavily between them, creating an emotional chasm that felt insurmountable. Days turned into weeks, and the cycle of blame continued. Evelyn's resentment toward Cootie grew, while Theodore remained blissfully unaware of the emotional turmoil swirling in their home. The joy of their son's laughter was overshadowed by a growing sense of disappointment. Evelyn found herself feeling trapped in a life she had once dreamed of, battling against the tide of loneliness and despair. Despite the difficulties, there were moments of joy interspersed throughout their days. Chitty's giggles echoed through the house as he took his first steps, wobbly yet determined. Evelyn's heart swelled with pride as she cheered him on. But even in those moments, a shadow lingered, an unshakable sense of doubt about her ability to be the mother she had always wanted to be. One evening, as they prepared for bed, Evelyn's heart felt heavy. She could sense that something had to change, that the cycle of blame and frustration was taking a toll on their family. "Theodore," she began hesitantly, "I think we need to talk about Cootie. I feel like we're both not on the same page." Theodore sighed, his frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "I don't know what you want me to say. She's just doing her job, isn't she? If you want her to do more, maybe you should communicate that." In that moment, Evelyn realized that the heart of the issue was not merely Cootie, but their entire dynamic. She needed to find a way to bridge the gap between herself and Theodore, to bring him into the conversation and express her needs without blame. But the challenge lay in overcoming their ingrained patterns, and as the sun set on another long day, she wondered if they could ever find a path forward together. As the sun rose over the village, casting a golden light on the sleeping home of Theodore and Evelyn, the anticipation of a new day brought both hope and dread. Evelyn had finally reached a breaking point. The struggles of motherhood had become overwhelming, and she knew she needed help. After careful consideration, she decided to hire a nanny, someone to assist with Chitty and share the load of daily tasks. Cootie, a local woman known for her straightforward demeanor, came highly recommended. She arrived at their doorstep one bright morning, her presence a mix of confidence and practicality. With her quick smile and no-nonsense attitude, she instantly brought a sense of energy to the home. Evelyn felt a glimmer of relief. Maybe, just maybe, this would ease the burden that had been weighing her down. At first, Cootie fit into the household seamlessly. She took to her duties with enthusiasm, handling diaper changes and feeding schedules with remarkable efficiency. Evelyn found herself feeling lighter, grateful for the assistance that allowed her to rest, albeit for short periods. The bond between Cootie and Chitty seemed to grow quickly as Cootie played with him, engaging him in laughter and games. Evelyn couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. However, as the weeks rolled by, the initial excitement began to fade. Evelyn started to notice cracks in Cootie's seemingly perfect facade. While Cootie was skilled in taking care of Chitty, she lacked the emotional connection that Evelyn had hoped for. The warmth that came with nurturing was often replaced with a transactional approach. Chitty was more of a responsibility to her than a joy to care for. Evelyn's frustrations simmered beneath the surface. Whenever Chitty would cry or get into mischief, Evelyn would find herself snapping at Cootie. "Why can't you watch him properly? You're here to help, not to let him wander around." The tension in her voice was palpable, and Cootie, sensing the hostility, would retreat into silence, her heart hardening against the accusations. In the midst of these growing tensions, Theodore continued to remain blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in their home. He would come home from work, eager to unwind, and often express gratitude for Cootie's presence. "I don't know how you managed before her," he would say, oblivious to Evelyn's mounting frustrations. His comments felt like salt in an open wound, deepening Evelyn's resentment. As Evelyn struggled to balance her expectations of Cootie with the reality of their arrangement, she found herself trapped in a cycle of blame. She could feel the weight of Chitty's laughter, once a source of joy, beginning to weigh on her as she watched Cootie interact with him. The more she felt Chitty's joy was being dismissed, the more isolated she became. One day, after a particularly difficult morning where Cootie had left Chitty unattended while chatting with a neighbor, Evelyn exploded. "You're supposed to be taking care of him. If you can't do that, what good are you?" Her voice rose, laced with anger and frustration. Cootie looked taken aback, the hurt clear in her eyes. "I'm just trying to help," she replied quietly, her demeanor shifting from confident to defensive. That evening, Evelyn sat down with Theodore, the heaviness of the day weighing on her shoulders. "We need to talk about Cootie," she said, her voice tinged with exhaustion. "I feel like she's not taking her job seriously. Chitty deserves someone who cares for him as much as I do." Theodore, perplexed, shrugged. "But she gets the job done, doesn't she? You just need to communicate your expectations better." His words struck a chord in Evelyn's heart. She realized that, once again, their conversation was veering into blame rather than finding a solution. Days turned into weeks, and the tension continued to grow. Evelyn felt trapped, caught between her frustrations with Cootie and her longing for Theodore's support. It became increasingly clear that their relationship was deteriorating, and the joy that Chitty brought was being overshadowed by resentment and anger. In the quiet moments, when Chitty's laughter echoed in the halls, Evelyn would remind herself of the love she had for him. She would hold him close, whispering promises of protection and nurturing. But the shadows of doubt loomed large. Could she truly provide the warmth and care that her son needed? As the days passed, Evelyn's heart felt heavy with the weight of unfulfilled expectations. And yet, within the chaos, moments of tenderness still existed. One afternoon, as Chitty babbled happily in his crib, Evelyn caught a glimpse of his bright eyes, sparkling with joy. It filled her with warmth, if only for a moment. But even in that joy, the harsh reality remained. The love that had blossomed between them was now entangled in misunderstandings and blame, creating a rift that seemed impossible to bridge. As Evelyn faced the growing challenges of motherhood, she realized that the journey ahead would require more than just physical assistance. It would demand emotional support and understanding from her husband and the people around her. And yet, as the sun set, on another day, she wondered if they could ever find their way back to each other. The weight of expectations hung heavy in the air, permeating every corner of Theodore and Evelyn's home. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Evelyn felt an unsettling tension brewing, rooted in unexpressed frustrations and deep-seated insecurities. The presence of Cootie, once a source of relief, had become a thorn in her side, causing a rift that seemed to widen with each passing day. Evelyn often found herself retreating into her thoughts, battling feelings of inadequacy as a mother. Each time she glanced at Cootie interacting with Chitty, she felt a pang of jealousy. Cootie, with her youthful energy and confident demeanor, appeared to have a natural connection with Chitty that Evelyn envied. In those moments, the joy of motherhood felt tainted by self-doubt. Why can't I be more like her? Evelyn would ask herself, a question that echoed in her mind like a haunting refrain. The pressure to be the perfect mother weighed heavily on her, and as the nights turned into long stretches of worry, her self-esteem began to erode. It didn't help that Theodore remained oblivious to her struggles, often praising Cootie for her efficiency without recognizing the emotional turmoil brewing within his wife. Evelyn's resentment began to bubble to the surface. During family gatherings or village meetings, she would overhear comments about her role as a mother. "Look at Evelyn. She should be setting a better example," someone would whisper, casting a disapproving glance her way. Each remark felt like a dagger, a reminder of her perceived shortcomings. One evening, as they gathered with friends to celebrate a local festival, Evelyn felt particularly exposed. Amidst the laughter and merriment, she watched Theodore boast about their perfect nanny. To anyone who would listen, "Cootie has been such a blessing to our family," he exclaimed, his tone light and carefree. Evelyn felt her heart sink, each word intensifying the ache of inadequacy. In a moment of vulnerability, she confronted Theodore later that night. "Why do you always praise Cootie in front of everyone? Don't you see how it makes me feel?" Her voice trembled, a mix of anger and hurt spilling forth. Theodore, taken aback, furrowed his brow in confusion. "I'm just saying the truth. She helps us out a lot. You're doing great too, but you need to lighten up." That dismissive tone cut deeper than she expected. Evelyn felt a surge of frustration. "Lighten up? Theodore, this is my life. I'm the one who spends every waking moment with our son. I need your support, not your condescension." The argument spiraled into a heated exchange, both of them trading barbs fueled by pain and misunderstanding. As the sun rose the next day, the weight of their argument hung in the air like a dark cloud. Evelyn found herself caught in a cycle of resentment, her emotions tangled in a web of expectations that felt impossible to meet. Cootie, unaware of the emotional turmoil brewing within the household, continued her routine, approaching each day with a sense of detachment. The dynamics shifted further when Evelyn began to distance herself from both Theodore and Cootie. She immersed herself in household tasks, retreating into the mundane to avoid facing the growing chasm in her marriage. Chitty, innocent and unaware, became the bridge between his parents, his laughter echoing in the background as tension simmered beneath the surface. Despite her efforts to suppress her feelings, Evelyn couldn't escape the reality of her situation. The resentment toward Cootie grew stronger, fueling a desire to regain control over her life. One afternoon, she decided to confront Cootie directly, hoping to reclaim her role as Chitty's primary caregiver. "Cootie, can we talk?" Evelyn approached her with a determined expression, her heart racing. Cootie looked up from her chores, sensing the seriousness of the moment. "Sure, what's on your mind?" she replied, a hint of wariness in her voice. "I need you to understand that I want to be more involved with Chitty. I feel like you're doing everything, and I want to have my place in his life," Evelyn stated firmly, her voice steady despite the anxiety churning within her. Cootie nodded, but Evelyn could see the flicker of defensiveness in her eyes. "I'm just doing my job, Evelyn," Cootie said, her tone slightly sharper than before. "I didn't mean to take away your role. I thought you wanted help." Frustration bubbled to the surface once again. I did want help, but not at the cost of losing my connection with my son. Evelyn felt the anger rise, fueled by the combination of her insecurities and the pain of feeling overshadowed. It seems like you care more about getting paid than actually caring for Chitty. Cootie's expression hardened, and Evelyn realized too late how hurtful her words had been. Cootie turned away, her shoulders tense. I'm just trying to do what I'm paid for. If that's not enough for you, maybe I should look for work elsewhere, she said coldly. As Cootie walked away, Evelyn felt a mix of regret and satisfaction. The confrontation had laid bare the tension that had been simmering for too long, but it also deepened the rift between them. With every passing moment, Evelyn found herself spiraling deeper into a pit of resentment. That night, as Chitty slept peacefully in his crib, Evelyn sat on the porch, watching the stars twinkle above. She was exhausted, emotionally drained from the day's events. The love she once felt for Theodore now felt heavy with unfulfilled expectations. She longed for the connection they once shared, but struggled to see a way forward. In the stillness of the night, Evelyn realized that the seeds of resentment had been planted not only toward Cootie, but also toward her own husband. Their marriage was being tested in ways she had never anticipated, and she wondered if they could navigate the storm together or if the chasm would only grow wider. In the heart of the village, life continued with its usual rhythm. The sun rose over the horizon, casting a warm glow that brought life to the bustling streets. Children played, vendors called out their wares, and laughter echoed through the air. But within the walls of Theodore and Evelyn's home, a heavy silence lingered, a stark contrast to the vibrancy of the world outside. Evelyn awoke that morning feeling a familiar weight pressing down on her chest. Chitty's soft coos filtered through the thin walls, a reminder of the joy he brought. Yet that joy was now tinged with anxiety. The day ahead felt daunting, filled with the same patterns of frustration and resentment that had become all too familiar. As she prepared breakfast, Evelyn's mind raced. She thought about her confrontation with Cootie the previous day and the way it had escalated so quickly. The tension in the house had reached a breaking point, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something had to change. But what? How could she regain control over her own life while still fostering a loving environment for Chitty? The aroma of yam porridge filled the kitchen, mingling with the sound of Chitty's laughter as Cootie played with him in the living room. Evelyn watched for a moment, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. She wanted to feel gratitude for Cootie's help, yet resentment clawed at her heart. Cootie appeared to be thriving in her role, effortlessly engaging with Chitty, while Evelyn felt like an outsider in her own home. Theodore entered the kitchen, his usual casual demeanor unshaken by the tension that had been building. "Morning, love. What's for breakfast?" he asked, grabbing a plate and plopping down at the table. Evelyn forced a smile, trying to mask the turmoil within her. "Just some yam porridge," she replied, her tone flat. As she served him, she felt a surge of frustration. How could he remain so oblivious? The weight of her unexpressed feelings settled heavily on her shoulders, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Chitty is so lucky to have Cootie around. She's really great with him, Theodore remarked, oblivious to the storm brewing within Evelyn. The word stung, a reminder of the chasm that had developed between them. Evelyn's heart sank further as she struggled to find her voice. "Yes, she's good," Evelyn said, her voice barely above a whisper. The morning continued with small talk, but Evelyn felt detached, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Each time Theodore praised Cootie, it felt like another layer of her identity was being chipped away. After breakfast, Evelyn decided to take Chitty for a walk in the village. The sun warmed her skin, and for a moment, she felt a glimmer of peace as she held her son close. The vibrant colors of the market, the laughter of children, and the cheerful greetings from neighbors offered a temporary distraction from her internal struggles. As they strolled through the village, Evelyn observed other mothers interacting with their children, their bonds apparent and beautiful. The envy bubbled up again, twisting in her gut. Why did it seem so effortless for everyone else? What was she doing wrong? Upon returning home, the atmosphere felt stifling. Cootie was busy in the kitchen preparing lunch, and Chitty was happily playing with some toys. Evelyn felt an urge to reclaim her space, to take charge of her role as a mother. Cootie, I think I'll take over from here, Evelyn said, her voice firm. Cootie paused, a flicker of surprise crossing her face, but she nodded without protest. Of course, Evelyn. I'm just making lunch, she replied, her tone cool and professional. The exchange felt charged, and Evelyn sensed the tension in the air. As Evelyn busied herself in the kitchen, she tried to focus on the task at hand. She chopped vegetables and stirred pots, but her mind wandered to the growing distance between her and Theodore. Why couldn't he see the pain she was in? Did he even care? After lunch, Evelyn decided to sit down with Chitty, hoping to establish a connection that had felt strained for too long. She played with him on the floor, mimicking his silly noises and engaging in his games. For a brief moment, the joy returned, and she felt a spark of love for her son. But even in that happiness, the shadow of resentment loomed large. Later that evening, Theodore returned home, and Evelyn braced herself for the usual routine. She prepared dinner, but as they sat at the table, she felt the need to address the elephant in the room. Theodore, we need to talk about Cootie, she began cautiously. The tension in the air grew thick, and Theodore's eyes narrowed slightly. I feel like I'm losing my place as Chitty's mother, and I need your support in this. Evelyn, you're being dramatic, Theodore replied, his voice dismissive. Cootie is just helping us. You're still his mother. You don't need to compete with her. Evelyn felt a wave of frustration rise within her. It's not about competing. I just want to feel like I matter in our home. It feels like Cootie is taking over, and I don't know how to handle it. The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered. Theodore's expression shifted from annoyance to confusion. But she's just doing her job. You know you're the one who wanted help. If you don't want her here, just say so. Evelyn felt her heart sink. It's not that simple, Theodore. I need you to understand my feelings, not dismiss them. The argument spiraled into another familiar pattern, both of them feeling unheard and misunderstood. As they finished dinner in silence, the air felt heavy with unspoken words and unmet needs. That night, as Evelyn lay in bed, she stared at the ceiling, wrestling with her emotions. The vibrant life of the village felt distant from the turmoil within her home. She longed for a way to reconnect with Theodore, to reclaim her identity as Chitty's mother, and to mend the rift that had formed. But as she drifted into an uneasy sleep, doubt lingered. Could they find their way back to each other amidst the chaos? Or were they destined to remain locked in a cycle of resentment and misunderstanding? In the days that followed, Evelyn felt a shift within herself. The heaviness that had consumed her heart began to ease, albeit slightly, as she resolved to take control of her situation. She had spent too long in a state of discontent, and she was determined to find a way forward, one that would allow her to embrace her role as a mother and reconnect with Theodore. One afternoon, as she sat outside with Chitty, the gentle breeze brushed against her skin, carrying the laughter of children playing nearby. It was a reminder that despite her struggles, there was still beauty in the world around her. Inspired by the joy of the moment, she decided it was time to have a candid conversation with Theodore, one that prioritized her feelings and laid bare the issues that had been festering. Later that evening, after Chitty had settled into his crib, Evelyn took a deep breath and called Theodore to join her on the porch. The stars twinkled above, casting a soft glow that felt almost magical. As they sat together, she felt a mix of anxiety and hope. Theodore, can we talk about everything that's been going on? Evelyn began, her voice steady. I need to share how I've been feeling. Theodore looked at her, his expression guarded but curious. Sure, what's on your mind? Evelyn took a moment to gather her thoughts, feeling the weight of her emotions. I've been feeling overwhelmed and isolated since Chitty was born. It's been hard for me to adjust to being a mother, and I feel like I'm losing my identity. Cootie's presence has intensified those feelings, and I need your support. Theodore nodded slowly, his gaze softening. I didn't realize you felt that way. I thought you were handling everything well. That's the thing, Evelyn replied, her voice laced with vulnerability. I've been putting on a brave face, but inside I'm struggling. I need us to be a team, to communicate openly about our needs and expectations. I want to feel like I'm still Chitty's mother, and not just someone who's losing control. Theodore's expression shifted as he processed her words. I'm sorry for not being more aware. I guess I've been focused on work and didn't realize how much you were dealing with at home. The conversation began to bridge the gap that had formed between them. Evelyn felt a flicker of hope as she watched Theodore's expression soften, his defensiveness fading away. I don't want you to feel like you're alone in this, he said earnestly. I want to support you better. Let's figure out how to balance our responsibilities. I'll step up more, I promise. Tears pricked at the corners of Evelyn's eyes. It felt like a turning point, a moment of vulnerability and understanding. Thank you, Theodore. That means a lot to me. I want us to be a team for Chitty. In the days that followed, their relationship began to shift. Theodore made a conscious effort to participate more actively in Chitty's care, whether it was helping with diaper changes or spending quality time playing with him. Evelyn felt a renewed sense of partnership blossoming between them, and the burden she had carried for so long began to lighten. Yet, the road to healing was not without its bumps. Evelyn still grappled with her insecurities, particularly regarding Coody's role in their lives. Although she had expressed her feelings to Theodore, the presence of the nanny continued to trigger moments of self-doubt. One afternoon, as she watched Chitty and Coody play together, the pang of jealousy resurfaced. Coody's laughter rang through the house, and for a fleeting moment, Evelyn felt threatened by her ease and confidence. In that moment, Evelyn realized she needed to confront her feelings, not just toward Coody, but also within herself. She decided to approach Coody, hoping to establish a new understanding between them. Coody, can we talk? She said, her voice gentle but firm. Coody looked up, her expression guarded but open. Sure, what's on your mind? She replied, her tone professional yet curious. I want to express that I appreciate your help with Chitty, Evelyn began, choosing her words carefully. But I also want to be more involved in his care. I need to feel like his mother, and I hope we can work together to make that happen. Coody listened intently, her expression softening. I understand, Evelyn. I didn't mean to overshadow you. I was just trying to do my job, but I want to support you as a mother too. A sense of relief washed over Evelyn as she realized that they could find common ground. I think if we communicate openly, we can create a positive environment for Chitty. We both care about him, and that's what matters. With a tentative agreement, Evelyn felt a sense of empowerment. The dynamic in their home was shifting, not just in her relationship with Theodore, but also in her interactions with Coody. While it would take time to rebuild her confidence, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of hope. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the house began to change. The laughter of Chitty echoed more freely, and Evelyn found joy in her role as a mother once again. She realized that the journey of parenthood was not about perfection, but about growth, connection, and love. The tides of change had begun to wash away the resentment that had threatened to consume her. Evelyn understood that while challenges would always exist, she now had the tools to face them head-on. With Theodore by her side and a newfound sense of self-worth, as the sun set on the horizon, casting a warm glow over their home, Evelyn held Chitty close, feeling the weight of love and gratitude wash over her. They were finding their way back to each other, one step at a time, and she was determined to cherish every moment along the way. As the weeks turned into months, Evelyn and Theodore worked diligently to strengthen their relationship and embrace their roles as parents. The air in their home felt lighter, and laughter began to weave its way back into their daily lives. Chitty thrived in this newfound atmosphere, his laughter a sweet melody that filled their hearts with joy. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Evelyn turned to Theodore with a smile. I can't believe how far we've come, she said, her voice filled with warmth. I feel like we're finally a team again. Theodore nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "I've missed this connection. I didn't realize how much we needed to communicate openly. I'm grateful that you found the courage to share your feelings." Evelyn felt a rush of emotion, thankful for the progress they had made together. "It's been a journey, but I feel more confident as a mother and as your partner. I appreciate the way you've stepped up." Their conversations continued to evolve, and they made a habit of checking in with each other, sharing their thoughts and feelings without fear or judgment. Theodore's support helped Evelyn navigate her insecurities, and she learned to embrace the fact that being a mother was not about perfection, but about presence and love. Despite the progress they had made, Evelyn still struggled with the dynamics surrounding Cootie. While she appreciated Cootie's help, there were moments when the nagging feelings of inadequacy resurfaced. One afternoon, as she watched Cootie play with Chitty in the garden, a familiar twinge of jealousy crept in. Sensing her discomfort, Theodore approached her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. "Hey, it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Just remember that you're Chitty's mother, and that can never change." Evelyn leaned into him, grateful for his reassurance. "I know, but sometimes I just feel overshadowed. I want to be the one who nurtures and shapes him." "Then let's find a way to balance it," Theodore suggested, his voice gentle. "How about we set aside specific times for you to be one-on-one with Chitty, so you can bond without distractions, and we can talk to Cootie about it together." The idea resonated with Evelyn. "That sounds like a great plan. I want to be present for those moments. I want Chitty to feel my love in everything we do together." With a renewed sense of purpose, they decided to approach Cootie together, setting clear boundaries while expressing their appreciation for her support. When they sat down to talk, Evelyn felt a sense of empowerment, knowing she had Theodore by her side. "Cootie, we want to thank you for everything you've done for our family," Evelyn began, her voice steady. "We appreciate your help with Chitty, but we also want to ensure that I have dedicated time with him so we can build our bond." Cootie nodded, her expression open and understanding. "I completely understand. I want what's best for Chitty too. Let's work together to create a schedule that allows you to have quality time with him." As they discussed the new arrangements, Evelyn felt a sense of relief wash over her. It was the first time she had truly felt like an equal partner in Chitty's care, and it solidified her confidence as a mother. With the new schedule in place, Evelyn made it a priority to cherish her one-on-one time with Chitty. They explored the village together, visited local parks, and engaged in creative activities at home. Each moment spent with him deepened their bond and helped Evelyn rediscover her identity as a mother. One sunny afternoon, as they played in the garden, Chitty's laughter rang out like music, brightening Evelyn's heart. In that moment, she realized how far she had come. The resentments that had once clouded her vision were fading, replaced by a sense of fulfillment. As they returned inside, Evelyn found Theodore in the kitchen, preparing dinner. She joined him, feeling a sense of gratitude for the life they were building together. "Thank you for supporting me through all of this," she said, her voice warm. "I feel like I'm finally finding my footing." Theodore smiled, his eyes reflecting pride. "You're doing an amazing job, Evelyn. I'm proud of you for being so open and willing to work on our relationship." As they shared the evening meal together, the atmosphere felt light and joyful, a stark contrast to the heaviness that had once permeated their home. The challenges they had faced only strengthened their bond, and with every laugh shared and every moment cherished, they continued to heal together. As the days turned into months, Evelyn felt a profound sense of transformation within herself and her family. The journey toward healing had not been easy, but with each passing day, she embraced her identity as a mother and nurtured the connection she shared with Theodore. Chitty was growing quickly, and with every milestone, Evelyn felt an overwhelming sense of pride. One sunny afternoon, as they celebrated Chitty's first birthday, the house was filled with laughter, joy, and love. Friends and family gathered, their faces illuminated by the glow of happiness. "Happy birthday, Chitty," Evelyn exclaimed as she held him close, showering him with kisses. The room echoed with cheerful voices, and the vibrant decorations made the celebration feel alive. Theodore joined them, wrapping his arms around Evelyn and Chitty. "I can't believe our baby is one already. Time flies," he said, his voice filled with warmth. The love they felt for their son had only deepened their bond as partners. As the festivities continued, Evelyn took a moment to step back and observe the scene around her. The laughter of children playing, the cheerful chatter of friends, and the warmth of familial love enveloped her like a comforting embrace. For the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. Later, as the cake was cut and candles were blown out, Evelyn felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. The challenges they had faced with Cootie, the struggles of new motherhood, and the journey of rediscovering herself all led to this beautiful moment. In the weeks that followed, Evelyn continued to nurture her relationship with Theodore and build a loving bond with Chitty. They embraced family outings, explored the village together, and created lasting memories. Each day was a celebration of love, growth, and connection. Cootie remained a part of their lives, but the dynamics had shifted. Evelyn found herself feeling more secure in her role as a mother, and she appreciated Cootie's contributions without the weight of jealousy. They developed a mutual respect that allowed them to work together for Chitty's benefit. One evening, as Evelyn sat in the garden watching Chitty play, she felt a sense of contentment envelop her. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It was a reminder that every day brought new possibilities, new beginnings. As she and Theodore sat together, reflecting on their journey, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of hope. They had navigated the storms of resentment and misunderstanding, emerging stronger and more connected than ever. "Evelyn," Theodore said, his voice soft, "I want to keep building this life together. You're an amazing mother, and I'm proud to be your partner." Evelyn smiled, her heart swelling with love. "I feel the same way, Theodore. We've come so far, and I'm excited about what the future holds for us." With Chitty nestled between them, they watched the stars twinkle above, a symbol of the endless possibilities that lay ahead. In that moment, they understood that the journey of parenthood and partnership would continue to evolve, but they were ready to embrace whatever came next, with love, strength, and unwavering support for one another. As the seasons changed, so too did the dynamics within Theodore and Evelyn's home. The love and understanding they had cultivated over the past months flourished into a deep bond, allowing them to embrace the unpredictability of life together. Evelyn found herself more comfortable in her role as a mother, and with that confidence came a sense of joy that radiated throughout their home. She relished each moment spent with Chitty, celebrating his newfound milestones with uncontainable excitement. One morning, as they enjoyed breakfast together, Evelyn felt a sense of gratitude wash over her. The aroma of freshly brewed tea mingled with the sound of Chitty's laughter as he played with a toy at the table. "Look at him," Theodore said, his eyes sparkling with pride. "He's getting so big. I can't believe how fast time flies." Evelyn nodded, her heart swelling with love. "Every day is a new adventure with him. I'm so grateful to have you by my side through it all." Their relationship had transformed into a true partnership, one built on trust and open communication. They learned to navigate challenges together, and with each conversation, their bond deepened. Later that week, they decided to host a family gathering, inviting friends and relatives to celebrate not only Chitty's growth, but also the strength of their family unit. Evelyn felt a surge of excitement as she prepared for the event, her heart full of hope for the future. As guests arrived, the atmosphere buzzed with warmth and laughter. Evelyn and Theodore moved seamlessly through the crowd, sharing stories and creating new memories. They watched as Chitty played with his cousins, his laughter echoing like music through the air. In the midst of the celebration, Evelyn caught sight of Cootie, who had become a trusted presence in their lives. Cootie was chatting with some friends, her smile genuine and relaxed. Evelyn felt a sense of appreciation for the role she played in their family. Later in the evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Evelyn took a moment to step outside for some fresh air. She leaned against the porch railing, taking in the beauty of the twilight sky. The colors danced above her, reminiscent of the vibrant changes in her life. Theodore joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What's on your mind?" he asked, his voice tender. "I just can't help but reflect on everything we've been through," Evelyn said, a soft smile gracing her lips. "It feels like a different world from where we started. I'm so grateful for the journey we've taken together." "Me too," Theodore replied, his gaze steady. "It's been a process, but we've grown stronger through it all. I love our little family." As they stood together under the starlit sky, Evelyn felt a sense of peace wash over her. The challenges that once loomed large now seemed small in comparison to the love that surrounded them. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn continued to embrace the changes in her life. She sought out new experiences, eager to grow as both a mother and an individual. They began exploring family outings, visiting local markets, and participating in community events that brought them closer together. One sunny afternoon, they decided to attend a village festival. The vibrant colors, sounds, and scents filled the air with excitement. Evelyn watched as Chitty ran around, his joy infectious, and she felt a warmth spread through her heart. "This is what it's all about," she said to Theodore, her eyes shining. Creating these memories together. As the festival unfolded, Evelyn found herself feeling grateful for the life they were building. The love between her and Theodore had blossomed into something truly special, and she understood that their journey was just beginning. With every laugh shared, every obstacle overcome, and every moment cherished, they continued to write their own story. A story of love, resilience, and the beauty of family. Evelyn looked forward to the dawn of each new day, ready to embrace whatever life had in store for them, hand in hand with the people she loved most. As they returned home that evening, Evelyn couldn't help but smile, knowing that their hearts were full and their futures were bright. In the tapestry of their lives, they had woven a narrative rich with love and connection, and she was excited for all the chapters yet to come.